Dude, his name is one-on-one Emperor, and I'm the Emperor.
Huh?
I'm gonna keep the food for when I get tilted against Aurora, because... I think I should have saved one for when I get killed. Also on the wave here, preferably. Oh, I got 2 minions and they hit on her. I love Aurora players. Aurora players deserve the world. I need more food to sustain me mentally. I think I'm about to crash out, chat. I'm gonna die here, aren't I? That was actually a nice combo, I guess. Like, I'm sorry.
Yo and welcome. Today we're facing Alois on the top lane. And let me tell you, he's a very good player, but I'm sure most people already know that. And why is he on Nasus? Well, Nasus is actually a very simple yet effective pick into Aurora, but you do need the proper mindset and setup to make it work. The thing is, he obviously outscales Aurora in side laning, but he's also very good in team fights, especially in a game like this. But in order to get to the mid and late stages, in the laning phase, you need to play to minimize your losses early and primarily play for poke. Running Airy and having either Doran's Shield or Second Wind will help immensely with that aspect. But Alois didn't have any of that, so his laning phase didn't go that smoothly. As the Aurora player though, your job is to make it as difficult as possible for the Nasus to scale. Otherwise, later in the game you won't have a very pleasant experience. Okay, so jumping into the game, we just secured our second kill on the Nasus. I knew my jungler was hovering topside, so I was threatening a freeze. And my opponent obviously saw that and wanted to do something about it, but had to pay the price. And now after all of that, I just need to shove in the wave and walk back to lane. Coming back, surprise surprise, I'm going to do exactly the same. Aurora can be a very stubborn laner when it comes to wave manipulation if the person piloting her utilizes her built-in sustain to the fullest extent, especially if the opposing laner is left in a 1v1. My goal is to make sure I poke my opponent, but at the same time making sure I don't kill too many minions. So finding a fine line between the two is very important. And as you can see, Aurora's early presence as a champion is coming up on top in this matchup as I'm able to fully bully out Nasus from the lane. His current best play is to just accept this bad situation and just go back. It's not pleasant, but it's the best he's got currently. Now I have two options. In both cases, I wait 8 to 10 seconds, then option 1 is to shove in recall, assuming that he did the same. But option 2 is he shows himself, in which case I just keep the freeze and stay in lane. And in this case, option 2 is at play, as he very arrogantly tries to walk up and touch the wave. We can't allow that to pass by unpunished, can we? Afterwards, you already know what I do. I go back and shove the next 2 waves, so I have the most gold possible for the best buy. Now the opposite happens, my opponent got back to lane in time, so he attempts to hold the wave, which is a good move, but I kept my TP in case something like this happens. Also notice my buy. I rush swiftly so I can nullify Nasus's W ability with her effectiveness. Very good against certain matchups like this one. Now I will just break the freeze and will look to set up vision. I'm not scared of the enemy jungler ganking me right now, since even if he's here I have tier 2 boots and I'm Aurora. I don't just die. I'll look to land any poke onto Nasus whenever possible, like this. My opponent is going pretty low HP, so I'll let the wave push towards my side, yet again forcing him to step up if he wants to get any minions. And potentially I can look for lethal. In this case, I almost was able to force his ult if my Q had landed, but sadly you can't hit every skill shot. He is juggling back and forward trying to get any XP he can, and eventually he gets his teleport back off of cooldown, so wants to recall. I tried to do something funny here to stop his recall, but he kept his cool and continued with the recall. Now I am kinda low HP, but I'm not in any danger as long as I have my ult. I know he'll press TP, in which case I just want to stick around and get as much of the farm as possible, and hopefully the cannon creep. And if he wants to try and engage on me, well, we'll just have to end up trading ults and potentially his ghost. As you're about to see, that's exactly what happens, but the swiftness boots and my champion's kit is too elusive for Nasus to handle at this stage of the game. This outcome ends up being perfect for me since I shoved the wave, but also was able to get as much of the CS as possible while not dying. After that I come back, and this is a very important breakpoint in the laning phase. This is a timer where the Nasus and maybe even the opponent jungler can look to find lethal on me. That is due to the fact that my ult has a very big cooldown. So now there's two options. I either get help from my jungler to shove out the lane and maybe set up a 2v2 if he's around, for instance like in this case. Or if I didn't, I would have had to play very respectively until I get it back off of CD. In this case, we barely couldn't finish off Alois due to me whiffing my initial E. I might be the first person in existence to miss that ability. But to be fair, the result was more than fine, since I get to avoid a very volatile time in the laning phase for me. Yes, Zinjal did have to pay with his own time for it, but I think it was more than acceptable. A little bit after, my opponent got back into lane, I shoved the minions, and I honestly was just looking for a recall. But he really wanted to cancel it, and obviously it's the correct play, but it's still really annoying. Now, I know my jungler took the opponent's topside camp, so I'm in a clear 1v1. I snuck in the third bush utilizing Fog of 4 and Nasus didn't notice it.
Oh, I'm actually dead.
And yeah, that's basically what happened. I turned one poke trade into an ON because I knew his ult was still on cooldown. That's more or less how the laning phase went. They did eventually kill me later on when Karma hit in the second bush, which honestly completely caught me off guard, and we traded a 1-for-1 after they dove me. It ended up being a pretty effective gank. But besides that, now the laning phase is practically over. Time to see if we can transition our laning phase win into an actual game win. Before we continue though, if you're enjoying the video, I would really appreciate it if you drop a like and subscribe to show me that you like this content and you want me to make more. Going back to the game, after their little rascal gank, I teleported behind Karma and was able to get a kill. Took me a while since she didn't want to die initially, but I eventually did get her, which allowed me to get top tower, officially ending the laning phase, and now it's all about how can I impact the game via my item advantage. And let me tell you, the game wasn't easy. While me, the jungler, and the mid laner were doing good, our bot lane weren't having the best game. And we all know that one winning bot lane is like having 5 winning top laners, junglers, and mid laners. Approximately. The very first team fight that ends up happening is around the Herald. The enemy team want to contest. With Aurora, you'd ideally get access to their backline since that's where her assassin nature gets to shine. But sometimes, in certain situations, you just play front to back together with your team. This one teamfight is one of them due to how much DPS we have with Azir and Sivir, the position of the fight, and our very strong teamfight ultimates. Really comes down to your best judgment, and sometimes you will have to improvise. But of course, the perfect fight will be one that you get to one-shot the enemy carries. We ended up winning this one and securing Herald. The next highlight occurs a bit later after a reset when we found a favorable fight in their bot side jungle. But while we were doing this, our Sivir on the top side was getting dove by the opponent Nasus. Why is she trying to stop him 1v1 instead of playing midwave with us and letting me teleport to save the tower if needed afterwards? Who knows? But anyway, I noticed it, so I teleported to potentially still try and do something about the situation. I couldn't help her, but I did end up saving the tower, and I even caught up to the Nasus and avenged Sivir's death. Game was going pretty smoothly until this point. But something was bound to go wrong. Now, at the end of the day, Aurora is a skillshot reliant assassin. Following that logic, if you don't hit your abilities, you're not gonna achieve a whole lot. Yeah, you probably know where this is going. The opponents were sieging mid tower, and even though my ult is on cooldown, I still wanted to potentially look for something. The situation did present itself on the Viego, but I whiffed. Badly. Yeah, I have no clue what I was aiming at. It was my last game of the day after all, so I was very sleepy. Basically, insert any excuse here. But just to clarify, when Viego wants to possess someone, you can get a very clear shot at him once his animation ends, and in most cases, it's a good thing to go for, as long as you hit your abilities of course. There's a fight that will showcase that in a little bit, but right now I have to stop Alois in the side lane. A very common question for Aurora players and in general when the mid game arrives is, how do I keep up in farm? The answer is catching side lanes whenever it's the best thing to currently do, but it always depends on the context. In this case, I'm the champion that can match Nasus the best since he can't kill me if he tries to dive me. And while Aurora does prioritize teamfighting over side laning, in this case, giving a free tier 2 tower without a guaranteed teamfight would absolutely be a net negative. Luckily for us, our team ended up winning a 4v4 fight which gave us Otacon. But right after, we're back on catch side lane duty, and paying attention to our team if they need any backup. And it looked like they did, so I pressed teleport only for it to be a complete waste since the fight was over before I could even be there. Yeah, sometimes games can be really awkward in terms of making your decisions. And of course I have to go back top with nothing to show for my TP, because Nasus will look to push whenever he sees the opportunity. But he ended up greeting his recall a bit later and my team was able to punish it. After shoving top wave, I finally have a window to roam around the map. This is due to the fact that Nasus was dead, so side lane pressure is relieved. Now my goal is to either follow up a fight from my team or start one. I also have 3 items, so I'm very strong. It's basically now or never for me to try and impact this game. But my team started a fight slightly too fast, so both me and opponent Nasus were basically backups for it. I tried to enter the fight by finishing off Karma, but she ended up leaving the area. Then enemy Senna went in to finish Sivir and I did my best to save her, but I couldn't. And now it's very awkward because I don't have ult and the fight is so far away from me. But I did notice one very important thing, which is the low HP Viego. So this is where the earlier advice about the possession comes into play. I was able to go in, finish off the Viego, shut down their chances for Baron, and go out without any casualties. If I didn't do that, it would have been a disaster because they would have been able to do Baron without any issues. Then the rest of the fight plays off by me and Nazir hunting down Karma. And the other two enemy members trying to catch me, of course. The next fight is where everything started looking really sketch, since we had a very bad team fight split in which we didn't play with our frontlines in Zhao, and the enemies got an insanely good clumped up fight on us. I did try my best to slow down the enemy backline to salvage the fight, but it was a losing one to begin with. Always important to recognize which fights you can actually win. Somehow though, only Rel died in this fight, so we could still attempt to contest Baron. When entering unknown territory, you need to be very careful. In this case, I only lost half of my HP by a Mantra Q. If possible, as Aurora and as any assassin, you should almost always attempt to enter fights from a different angle. The reason is you get to deal your damage without the enemies expecting it. In this case, I was almost able to do a lot with it, but since there's no Serpent's Fang for APs yet, enemy Karma was able to carry through my damage. And sadly, this wasn't a very positive result for us since they got Baron and my team ended up overchasing afterwards. But this is where the enemies might make a mistake, which is feeling overly safe. I have teleport, so I'm looking to use it and scout for a pick on somebody squishy. I use it far away from the fight so the opponents don't notice it. Go around the ward, and just look to bomba somebody. Hope that classifies as one. And now with the enemies having Baron, we're in a bit of a pickle. In order for us to actually win a fight, we need to take very calculated fights. But in the solo queue spirit, we just take the most random ones. There's just no way for me to commit for whatever this is, so we just played damage control and tried to not die. Luckily for me, holding my ult ends up saving me. It cost me my ult, but it's better than having a respawn timer. A bit later though, the enemies attempt to siege on our tier 2 mid tower. I know that as long as I play with Azir and Sivir on it, we can push the opponents off it. But we still have to play very cautiously without overcommitting. Azir was able to go in and finish off the Viego, and even though this is looking pretty good, on the other side we're bleeding towers because of numbers disadvantage. So right now I'm thinking, the game is slowly falling apart due to bad team fighting. If we still want to win, I need to look for good engage onto the enemy key members. I really need to set up a fight in which my DPS machines Sivir and Azir can shine. In order for me to do that, I need to be on the objective together with my team, look to constantly shadow them, and just engage onto the enemy backline as good as possible. And eventually, a situation did present itself. While it wasn't the cleanest engage since I got hit by a Nautilus hook not aimed at me, it still worked out. We were able to find a very strong engage with our teamfight comp. The reason that I knew it was the play when I saw it is because the enemies were split apart, so I knew if I create chaos in the backline and make it very easy for my teammates to follow up, even if I die in the process, it should be good enough for my team to win the fight and hopefully the game afterwards. And with that, I hope you enjoyed the video and I wish you a good remainder of your day or evening.